Welcome to Painting by Letters. My name's Hannes, and before we begin, I'd like to start by explaining some things. I wanted to begin this experiment by presenting my motivations and influences clearly. I want this channel to be a place wherein I personally begin the process of learning new skills and developing in this hobby. I recently returned to the miniature hobby around 8 months ago after a hiatus of nearly 10 years. I did this in a moment of grief and pain, and the hobby's helped me cope. And to be honest with you, I'm terrible. Here I am, living the dream of my teenage self. Someone who can afford Warhammer. And yet I'm not developing. I'm an unfocused bull in a china shop, picking up items I shouldn't be spending money on and moving with too much speed between projects. Look, I know I'm not the first person to have a pile of shame, nor am I the first to have spent more than they ought to. I mean, my other hobby's photography, and that's far worse. I mean, this lens here probably costs as much at once as pretty much all of my Warhammer does. The problem is, this gets used, and my Warhammer doesn't. But I am also someone with a creative background, and who works with animation, graphic design, and video products for work. To defend myself from some embarrassment, I don't do this at work. I've never done this before. I don't speak to a camera or something like that. So if this is crap, which it will be, don't think that that's my job. Cool. I thus should come to this hobby with lots of potential for ideas, with some key skills I should be using. But those are ideas that I usually have and abandon as soon as the parts have shipped, and skills I forget as soon as my work laptop is shut. Last year, my plan was to build 5 house armies of around 1,000 points, and I failed hard. I got one from when I was sort of 8 to 14 years old of Space Wolves, and just look at them. Plus my Land Raider's missing, so if you find a Land Raider that's missing all of its turrets, and no one bothered painting the bottom side of it, drop me a line. I suspect theft. When I was 16 or so, I collected Eldar, and here's the army. The paintwork is not good. It's much better than the Space Wolves, don't get me wrong, but it's not good. They look pretty cool set out though, so that's something. So after all that, I only had, theoretically at least, 3 to build and paint, and I've barely got 1. Plus, they're not all the same style, but I'm happy with them. I want a Trazyn though, so might have to change their paints, and I've also got all of these new ones, but hey, I've got a Necron army, something that I can work from here. I had my Space Marines from this Indomitus box, which honestly, and I'm sorry, I got for 40 quid. But you know, not bad enough to spend eBay money on that shit. Yeah. I feel bad for them because they could have got 200 more than that. Then I bought these Thousand Suns because I like the book Prospero Burns, which doesn't really have any Thousand Suns in it, now I think about it. And I liked the Thousand Suns book a lot, but I worry that that's me trying to justify this to myself. Well, I don't really regret it. I bought these models exactly when I was sat in hospital with a relative. I don't regret that decision, it helped me cope in that moment. But now I've got this box full of plastic I don't know what to do with. I also bought these Warhammer Plus minis because they looked cool, and I thought, well, what the hell, it's not that much. It feels nice to have everything together, to show my dirty laundry, and nothing will upset this ecosystem. Yeah, I can't even really defend this one. In my head, it was a conversion project. And I bought green stuff and tools and everything. I didn't even read the codex. Yeah. Then, if I'm honest with you, I was about to buy a gaming board off eBay about 2 weeks ago, and I thought enough was enough. If I want to have these projects and do these cool things, I need to stick them through. So this is what the channel's for. To force me to stick to projects, and to force me to learn to get better. It's not just a cry for help. I mean, well, it is. But it's a place I hope to learn, and hopefully you'll get something out of watching me fail every now and again. I must, for my own sanity, be clear on my influences though, and I aim to take a lot from them. To be really clear though, not like in the plagiarism sense, just in the who do I see doing cool shit I would like to emulate. And I'm only going to mention 5 people, but there's absolutely tons of others in all of the amazing online communities that I'm a part of, but never speak in, that I'm probably also taking as an influence as well. I just want to be honest about these 5 because I feel like the whole plan for this channel, for this experiment, is a combination of the cool and amazing things that they do. So yeah, I am ripping them off. I'm just trying to get ahead of the problem. Firstly, influences inside the hobby. MS Paint is the obvious one. Honestly, he's kind of the reason this channel exists. He's forged to create a welcoming space inside our community for those of us who cannot paint with the best of them. Not necessarily out of a lack of trying, but from other needs or restrictions upon ourselves. In my case, I actually do not have the steadiest hands. I haven't since a concussion a few years ago. And watching him do this hobby, knowing it won't be perfect, but with techniques designed to get good results, or at least tabletop results anyway, has genuinely been quite inspiring. Next we've got Midwinter Minis. Midwinter Mini's earlier work, where he focused on tutorials with limited paints, was a big draw back into the hobby and making myself feel like I could do this. However, I feel like any channel that begins now has to reckon with the fact that he revolutionised how videos like this are shot, and I aspire to his production values. Obviously that will follow in time if I keep this going, which I don't have a great track record of keeping projects going anyway, but you know, here we are. The painting phase, for the same reason as Midwinter Minis really, it's beginner stuff, but their podcast in particular has become such a beacon of positivity and love for the hobby that they must get a mention. And then we've got Pete the Wargamer. Look, let's be really honest here. I'm crap. I'm no Pete. I mean, just look at the lovely boy. I'm not that at all. But his execution of a plan is something I want to emulate. Picking a cool thing to do and following it through is exactly what I aim to do here. There are of course plenty of others I could mention, but those 4 really stand out from within the hobby. Outside the hobby though, and by far my favourite YouTuber, is Many a True Nerd. John, and sometimes Claire and their pets, are video game Let's Players. However, it's not tailored at a younger audience. It's rather someone just interacting with their hobby at their speed. They, however, use large video series to control their very impressive, kinda scary, release schedule. I think there are things we in this side of YouTube could learn from the video game style of releases. A project is not something that needs to be complete in one episode. Some will, sure, but not all have to. So how does all of this make sense for this channel? I've explained my influences and my goal. What I want to do is set myself projects, some big, some small, and I want to follow them through from end to end in serialized formats. I will not make promises on release schedules, this because I do not know what will be happening from time to time, and this is not ever going to be my job, but I aim to make promises on content. I need to focus on big ideas and moving in set directions. So really the idea is simple, beginning by looking at a plan, drawing ideas, sort a rough set of requirements, test the idea, build and review the final product. I've got some initial ideas on how to kickstart this. I'm going to test this style with a series where I finally turn my Necrons into a workable army. I mean, I say workable. Let's be frank that this comes with an ish. I don't care about no meta. I mean, I'll watch Uzbek's Tactics like everyone else. But yeah, I don't care. I will interlace this with a few standalone videos, and soon I want to start probably what will be the channel defining build. But this is a secret. I want to use this platform to experiment, to play with ideas and to develop as someone in this hobby. It's a space whereby someone like me will attempt to do what I see amazing creators do with board builds, army painting and other amazing things in this space. Finally, why the name? Painting by letters. I'm dyslexic. I find elements of the hobby really difficult because of this. I'll explain in a future video, probably. I find lots of fast moving tutorials really hard to follow, so I want to do things properly. I want to come up with schemes by painting by numbers, but I don't do letters so well, and thus painting by letters. Thanks for watching and keep safe out there.